If you're thinking of cooking up a fight scene, you should get your head around how violence and fighting actually works first. Most folks, when they picture fight scenes, they're probably seeing it through a movie or a sports lens. And that's cool, it's legit, but it's not always the way to go. See, when it comes to violence, it depends on what you want the audience to feel. A theatrical presentation of violence is about making us sit up and go, wow, that dude's got moves. We'll dive into that kind of thing later in the video. First, let's start with some real talk. A fight scene straight out of real life? It's fast, dirty, and brutal. If a real pro's involved, they're doing everything they can to sidestep the actual fight. And I'm not talking about the peace and love stuff here, even if that is what you should do more often than not. Real deal violence isn't about drama. It's one side grabbing the upper hand, holding onto it, and putting the other person out of the game ASAP. They'll do whatever it takes to stop the threat from fighting back. If we break it down, there are three main parts to a fight: the ambush, the freeze, and the brawl. The ambush kicks things off. Whoever's going first, they want to land a solid hit straight away and keep the pressure on so that their opponent can't catch a break. If their first hit doesn't floor them, that is. Take the first fight from Person of Interest, where John Reese takes on some troublemakers on the subway. Dude goes for vital spots right off the bat, aiming to put each one of them down fast and hard. The freeze is what happens to the guy on the receiving end of the ambush, if they're still conscious. Everybody experiences it. It's how we're wired. How long it lasts depends on the person. If they've seen some action before, they can snap out of it quick. Those who haven't been around the block, they're probably going to shake it off way too late. The freeze is a bit weird, because it's actually kind of pleasant. It's like being wrapped in a warm blanket. Sounds are muffled, and everything seems to slow down. When you're writing about this, I suggest focusing on the feeling rather than just saying they froze. Also, unless your character is inexperienced, they shouldn't be stuck in the freeze for too long. Now, just to throw out there, some readers might find the freeze frustrating when it takes too long, due to an inability to connect with it emotionally. It's why it helps to keep this short, though still, tell the story you want to tell. Just tossing this out there for your information. Also, FYI, people don't freeze because they're scared. They freeze because they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. The shock of real violence is stunning, especially if they've never experienced it before. So, if your character manages to survive the ambush and shake off the freeze, that's when the real fight begins. Things are going to be moving and shifting. Maybe the environment comes into play. Tunnel vision may set in, and the fight doesn't end until one of four things happens. Someone quits from the pain, something gets broken, they're knocked out, or they're killed. Or I suppose if someone breaks up the fight for a fifth possibility. Regardless, most folks call it quits when they start getting hurt. They can probably keep going physically, but don't want to because the stakes are getting too high. So, if you're aiming for realism, here's the deal. 1. Build up the fight. Slow the pace down here. You want to dig into suspense writing techniques. Have trash talking. Describe background noises. Make clear the environment. Give a ticking clock. Whatever. That all goes here. 2. Make the fight fast and brutal, with a clear aim to end it as soon as possible. Remember what I already covered about the mechanics of an actual fight. 3. Put a lot of emphasis on the aftermath of the fight, especially the physical toll. Before we touch more on the aftermath, there's something key that you should know that will set it up. What makes a move look devastating isn't the move itself, it's the reaction to it. In the wrestling biz, they call this selling. For us writers, it's all about focusing on the impact and how it affects the characters, both physically and emotionally. Remember, we can delve deeper into a character's mind and experience more deeper than anything visual can. Anyway, the aftermath is what sells things the most in a realistic fight scene. There can be all sorts of fallout like legal troubles, medical issues, and psychological damage. The more someone knows about the law, the better they can handle the legal stuff. Understanding their own morals can make dealing with the psychological aftermath easier. And the more comfortable they are with violence and conflict, the better they can handle it. And just to know, real violence can seriously mess with someone's self-image. PTSD comes not from the fight itself, but from feeling betrayed or treated unfairly. Anyway, if you're going for a realistic depiction of violence, aim for something shocking, repulsive, and horrifying. Or, in the reverse, if you want something shocking, repulsive, or horrifying, if you want to make people uncomfortable, use realistic violence. The way we handle violence is one of the 5 things that establishes tone, after all. If you want to know what the other 4 are, I recommend watching my video on stuff I prioritize over world building. Anyway, with violence, what I've described with realism can be classified as mobster violence, which is when the pain is taken very seriously. If you don't want to do that, there's also mild violence and slapstick violence. Slapstick is all about laughs. Mild violence is a hint of brutality, but it's not too graphic. This is where the theatrical fights fit in. They're drawn out, show off an honorable side of the characters, and are more about skill than action or violence, most of the time. If you're wondering if you can mix things up, sure. I see things as a spectrum. That person of interest example I used is a good blend, as it uses realistic tactics, but it portrays the protagonist winning against multiple men. Another fun example is the John Wick films. They've got a theatrical vibe, with it emphasizing technical skill above all else, but they don't skimp out on the brutality and fight scenes are often short. They also don't linger on the corpses often. John kills, then we move on. The series is much more about his skill, but then, sometimes, we get to see more of a lingering impact on things, typically with the major enemy fights. At any rate, I hope this serves as a good introduction to more tonal stuff with fight scenes, particularly with realism. If this has helped you at all, I'd appreciate it if you could like the video. Also, if there's anything you've struggled with or want to know more about, let me know. I plan on diving deeper into fight scenes and actions in the future, and your questions help me know where to focus. And if you're keen on learning more about extended fight scenes, check out this video where I discuss something I picked up from the world of professional wrestling.